All right, hi everybody. Jeff Gayduk here from Leisure Group Travel Magazine, and I'm happy to be joined today by Cory McGillivray from the Globus family of brands. Cory, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well, Jeff. Thanks for having me. How are you?
Doing really well, yes. So we're looking at the recovery of the travel industry here, and I thought it would be a good opportunity to touch base with Globus. I've seen a few items in the news over the last couple of weeks about your recovery plans, but I thought if I got you on video today, that'd be a good opportunity for you to communicate really what
Definitely.
you've gone through and also the road out. So I
hmm
guess first question for you here is, do you have a formal back to touring plan in place for Globus?
Yeah, I think there's a pretty straightforward kind of answer to that. And really for us, it's sort of threefold. Operationally, do we feel like we can operate? Is the demand there? And then third is kind of like the thought of is the experience on trip? Is it going to be what we want to stand behind? And we've checked the boxes on the first two. Operationally, with a lot of the on-trip protocols we've done for Globus Cosmos and Monograms and our onboard changes for Avalon Waterways, we feel like we're in a fantastic spot. We've had the time these last couple of months to really take a look at what these protocols need to be, and we're in a great place operationally. We can begin to travel as soon as we're ready. The demand is there. Obviously, we are actually seeing quite a few inquiries come in about travel for 2021, even some back end Q3 and Q4 businesses this year. So operationally, we're great. Demand is there, but the third piece is kind of where we've held off is, can the experience be what we promise? Our place is open. Are the museums going to be allowed to let our guests in? Can we share those same experiences? So we're kind of there 2/3 of the way. And once that third checkbox kind of gets ticked is when we feel like we'll be able to fully get operational again and start sending people across the world.
Okay, so with that, do you foresee any areas of the world that will open up quicker? I know that you have outlets in different areas of the world as well as far as
Mhm.
sales distribution. So are you seeing activity or interest spiking in specific areas?
If we want to get kind of specific about certain destinations, I think it's really breaks into this portfolio we have called Undiscovered. Earlier in the summer, we actually released our Undiscovered portfolio for North America. And some would ask us how we had a crystal ball, but I promise you, we did not know this was coming. We actually started the Undiscovered project for North America about a year ago. And for those that may be unfamiliar with the series, it's our fourth iteration of this, to where we really looked at off the beaten path destinations with the primary source of getting away from crowds, getting away from those major landmarks, and again, kind of getting clients off the beaten path. So we introduced that with North America. I want to say it was June 9th was the exact date, and we've seen tremendous success with that. Obviously, anything under that Undiscovered campaign kind of comes with the feeling of less people. And it's always been successful because people wanted to get that off the beaten path experience. They may have done Rome, but they want to go to Monte Vitecchi this time. So it's a little bit different in terms of the setup, but operationally, it's no different than what people are seeing. Certain borders are beginning to open up, but with U.S. travelers being on a prohibitive list right now, especially in Europe, that is definitely a big barrier to entry. And once we see those subside, we imagine we'll start seeing the uptick in Europe as well.
Okay, so the Undiscovered product line, I love the name, by the way. The Undiscovered product line, does that have to do with both the destination as well as the group sizes, or are these more traditional group sizes in lesser known off the beaten path locations?
I think you're closer with the second piece there. Obviously, because these tend to be not necessarily for first time travelers to Europe, because they want to see all the major city sites. They want to see Rome, Florence, Venice. But these off the beaten path destinations, they are kind of for that repeat traveler. And it is for people that want to, like you say, get off the beaten path. And I think that naturally caters to a smaller group size. I don't have the numbers directly in front of me, but we have seen on some of those truly off the beaten path cities, whether it's the Highlands in Scotland, the size of groups do tend to average a smaller size, but they are sold just like our normal Globus and Cosmos product.
Gotcha. Okay, so I think that's a great pivot during this process, and congratulations for getting that crystal ball. I
Yeah,
think that's
thank you.
yeah, certainly the fact that you've had a chance to work through that product and refine it from an operational logistics standpoint will certainly benefit you coming out of this. Are you guys doing anything specifically in the small group realm?
So on July 14th, we announced small groups for all of our exotic products. So that is South America, Asia, um, South Pacific, South America, if I think I may have mentioned that right off the bat, to where the average group size will be 20 passengers or fewer. So previously we had done this in Africa. Sorry, Africa was the other destination I missed. We've done this quite a bit in Africa and South America and Asia for Globus, but now all Globus and Cosmos departures in our exotic destinations will be small group discoveries. So where it used to be select departures or select product, we've now introduced that for 2021 across all Globus and Cosmos for our exotic destinations.
What's been the response thus far?
Uh, Fantastic. Certainly, there's a desire to have that limited group size, which I think people often forget. We also have private touring as well, which is a tremendous opportunity, especially in Europe, because that is where it's featured to take really any Globus itinerary and turn it into that private experience. So we had launched that back in 2018, and the demand has been there. We've certainly operated some of it, but we anticipate that being even more of an interest. And I think is a great opportunity, especially for our advisor partners to say, hey, clients, if you truly want that private experience, but without paying a truly private price, Globus now has that opportunity because when you look at whether it's 2 all the way up to 24, the premiums that you see around that 8 to 12 mark, they're really quite affordable when you talk about getting your own private tour director, your own private touring experience, your own guides within the experience. So it's a great opportunity for those that certainly can afford the price premium that comes with it, especially if you're looking at 2 to 6 passengers. But to think about getting a fully private Globus experience, we think there will be some demand for it.
Yeah, I agree with you. The early signs that we're seeing coming out of this is a strict movement towards private group travel,
Mhm.
friends and family, tribes of like-minded individuals that are looking to set their own course. And the fact that you're handling all the logistics of it just makes that process a lot easier. So I think you guys will do well with that as well. So kind of switching gears to the river cruise product. I've been fortunate to have been on a few Avalon cruises. I'm ready to go, by the way, when this is over.
Yeah,
If
that
you're
makes
looking for
2 of
bits,
us.
okay. So and it's a phenomenal experience. It's unbeatable. The cruise industry has obviously been beaten up. Like everything else has. But river cruising is a little different than blue ocean cruising. Uh, how do you feel things are going to come back on the rivers of Europe and Asia as we get back to more of a normal touring environment?
I genuinely believe that they're going to come back stronger than ever. Avalon Waterways is simply a safe way to travel. And because of the product, because of us being able to control so much of our onboard presence and really even our onshore presence, because they're vendors that we work with and choose and hold them to the same levels of accountability that we hold ourselves to, that I think people feel safe on a river cruise. It's a contained environment. Obviously, when you're starting to talk numbers, especially to traditional ocean cruising, the numbers, the space, they're vastly different. So I think where we're going to see some uptick is one, those repeat river cruisers, they understand the value of river cruising and the safety that it can kind of give to the traveler. And to double down on that with the introduction of our Avalon Assurance program, it takes that even a bit step further to maybe give them that sort of peace of mind for some of our onboard protocols. It it really, I think the big one for us is going to be with some of our past, our with excuse me, ocean cruise clients. Those that are perennial travelers with ocean cruises may be a bit hesitant next year. Now, I mentioned to you earlier, I came from a background of all sorts of travel. I myself have been on 25 different ocean cruises, and I think it's truly a tremendous way to travel. But I think for some of those repeat travelers looking for a slightly more controlled experience, we're going to see some of that shift towards river cruising and some of those things that they may not have jumped into initially, but this is a time for them to give river cruising a taste. We have a great short and sweet portfolio from 4 days all the way to 24. So for those that are a little hesitant about the switch, I think 2021 is going to be a fantastic opportunity for them to give river cruising a chance.
Yeah, that's a good point. I really hadn't thought about that, as there's so many people that have done the blue ocean cruising before, and they like the concept of the product, but maybe they don't want to go on a cruise ship that has 6,000 passengers on their
Exactly.
inaugural journey back. So the 160 or whatever you put on Avalon makes a lot of sense. So good. I like that. Um, a lot of companies have used this opportunity. I hate to call it an opportunity, but this time period to clean their closet out, so to speak. There's things that you do operational, functional, that just it's time to let them go. Is there anything you can think of that maybe you guys have deliberately stopped doing during this process that
Um,
maybe was long awaited?
I don't know that there's anything we've stopped necessarily. I think there's been a natural transition to really just more of a digital space in general. So that's really where we've taken this opportunity, is some plans that we had to really digitalize some of our process, whether that's the guest check-in process, or whether that's how you receive your documents, or the apps that we provide prior to your trips. I think that's where we've seen some of the acceleration. We've seen less requests for printed materials. Obviously, our brochure distribution has kind of changed a little bit to where we're pushing more e-brochure. But in terms of our process, not much has changed. We've certainly taken this time to find some synergies in our own back office. But I think where the travelers and especially advisors are going to see some difference is really just some technological advances that we start to roll out that will just make everyday life easier. That maybe it was a year-long project plan, but with a little bit of the time we've had, it's turned into a 6-month plan. So I think over the next couple months, there'll be some things coming out that'll get people excited about helping to turn the page on what 2020 was as we look towards 2021.
Okay, fair enough. Lastly, you and I have a bit of a shared history in the consortia background, and dealing with frontline travel advisors, and certainly now we're a bit more in tune to the direct group business. Both those sectors have just been decimated. There's no business in either of those markets right now, other than a little trickle of short day tours. What can we do to ensure that they land on their feet through this? What sort of incentives or operational help can we give them? Because neither of us have a business if they don't come back.
Right. It's to me, it's trust your relationships and lean on your supplier partners and your consortia partners. Talking a little bit about our shared history. They often advisors can feel alone. They can feel, especially as this world transforms. Maybe you worked at a brick and mortar to where you were surrounded by 25 colleagues, and now you're working from home. It's rely on the suppliers that are willing to commit to you, and rely on your consortia partners, because we're going to wade through this together. We know that you're working with 50 different suppliers who have 50 different policies. Just continue to remind yourself that there's support out there. We have a program called Home Base Connect that is really dedicated to our home-based travel advisor community to say, hey, you have a partner here that understands your unique needs. So it's really just remembering all the resources that are at your fingertips, and to remember to be proud to be a travel advisor. I can't tell you how happy I am to see more and more articles that are telling the opposite story of what we saw 5 years ago, when people were saying our travel advisors dying off. Well, now those that didn't book through a travel advisor or kind of need that additional reassurance, I think we're going to see this industry come roaring back in 21. And I hope everyone is excited for the ride, because I think it's going to be pretty exciting.
Great, great. I appreciate all you guys have done through this process. You've always been a really strong player in the group market, and we'll look forward to seeing this progress as we get out on the other side. Anybody who's interested in group bookings on Globus, what's the quickest path for them to get what they need?
So we have a fully dedicated groups department. So either you can reach out directly to our groups reservation team, which Jeff, I'll send you that number in a follow-up just so you have it as a reach out point. But also we have a group leader portal to where you can sign up and receive access to a portal where you can get access to marketing materials, current policies, and updates. So I'll be sure to follow up with you in particular and share some of those links and information with you so you can share with our audience.
Yep, we'll put that right at the back end of the video. So great. Okay, Cory, well, I really appreciate your time today. Good insight. And let's certainly keep in touch as plans develop and getting back to touring.
Great, Jeff. I appreciate it. If you have any other questions, feel free to give me a shout.